So this is an internship, Student for Development program funded by the Canadian government through CEDA and AUCC. And I was studying a master's program back at the Aga Khan University, and my area of specialization is teacher education, and within that specifically mathematics and science. And my main interest is on how to help students learn mathematics.
In Tanzania, I've focused in public schools and in school community partnership. And here in Canada, I did the same because the principals are working with the community. And what they say, it is decentralized system, what they call is school budgeting system. And there are some similarities, of course, like principals' salary scheme, and principals are all teachers, by the way. They are appointed through teaching experience. So in Tanzania, we have teachers who are appointed to be principals. And here, in order to be principal, you need to be a teacher, first of all, and then you will be appointed to be a principal.
During the summer months, I was in Tanzania on the Student for Development program, and I worked on various projects with the Aga Khan University in Dar es Salaam for the Institute for Educational Development. The highlight of the experience for me was definitely going around to the different secondary schools and being given the opportunity to see where the students learn, what kind of resources and materials they have available to them, what their aspirations were, and just what they do on a day-to-day life. Majority of the schools that I went to were boarding schools, and they were single-sexed, so it was interesting to talk about their experiences. And most of them preferred a boarding school because then they didn't have to worry about chores at home and family responsibilities. For them, the weather played a huge role. They all liked to be in the mountains, and none of them wanted to be by the beaches because it was too hot to study. And so that was definitely my favorite part, and just being inspired by many of them who are overcoming so many obstacles just to be in school, and they all had these big dreams of becoming doctors and lawyers, and they didn't really know too many professions outside of that, but it was pretty unbelievable to just sit down and have a conversation with them and what they loved about school.
Education, both in Canada and Tanzania, have similarities, but also there are differences. One of the similarities I see is the emphasis on education for all, in the sense that everybody, all children should have education. But for the case of Canada, this would be all the way up to, I suppose, grade 12, while for Tanzania, currently it's only up to standard 7, which is the equivalent of elementary. There is also, surprisingly, a push for curriculum reform, always to make quality better. Because we thought that, back at home we're doing this because our curriculum maybe is not updated, but I came here and I found that a curriculum reform has just gone through here, and teachers are still grappling with the same problems we had back at home of how to adjust to the new curriculum. And surprisingly, another issue was assessment. Like, for us, assessments are a big thing, and we always complain that we don't have enough time to teach because assessments are coming up. And so here also there is the issue of assessment, and teachers saying that, well, that's very good, we have these new reforms, but how do we manage with assessment? So these are things I see that there's similarities going through, but of course there are differences, and one of the most striking is the resources. Canadian schools, public schools, are really well funded, so there are textbooks, there are almost, I think, computers, or at least access to some kind of technology, very good classrooms, so that's something that's different from back at home. Another difference I see is with student behavior. Like for us, all students wear uniform, which of course is not about behavior, it's about making students feel more equal, otherwise some would have different clothes. But because of that, there is that sense of, for us, is more of a routine, the bell is the bell. Well, here I feel a more relaxed thing, like when I went to schools and children talk in class, and sometimes they use the phone, so that was something different. And I suppose one other thing is, because I was in teacher education, it's about the training of teachers. It takes much longer here, and I suppose that is because I'm just trying to think that not only that, but even the teacher-student ratio is much better here. You don't have large classes, whether it's at university or in schools. Like for us, the teacher-student ratio is much bigger.
Yeah, my time here is all about time management, because they're given, everybody use 24 hours a day, but most of them, great people spending much time in dealing with good things. Like here I find people are really serious reading, in buses, in trains, in library, in launches. You find people are really busy reading. This is different from my home, when people, they don't really read. The reading culture is not. And again, you find even in the classrooms, people still, they will be reading, studying while they are eating. So it is all about time management. How you spend your time is how do you get out of it.
I felt that the materials and the resources that they have are not as much as what we have, and I was really sad for them because the kids really wanted to learn. But the kids really were learning, and they were taking the initiative, and that's very similar to what we do here. The difference is that boarding schools are very popular there, and so other chores come along, like taking care of the dishes and taking care of the cows and the chickens and making their own food. But for the most part, I was impressed by the amount of similarities they were, despite the physical differences in the appearance of the schools.
So I've received a lot while I'm here, and one of the things I definitely will help me is on how to work with teachers on their professional development, because in my courses and in my research, especially in mathematics for teaching, I have discovered that teachers can work together through in-service by looking at their own practice, by thinking about it to better themselves. So instead of coming in and telling them what they don't know, it's working with them to find out what they know and build on it. So I think that is something very useful that I can work on. And the other thing through video gaming is I might not implement video gaming, but definitely the concept of students as designers rather than just users of any computer product will definitely be something that I can work on and just get them to participate more in what they're doing.
My academic life here, or my expectation when I was coming here, was that perhaps lecturers or people with authority you cannot question their suggestion or their ideas. But quite different when I was in lecturers or with lecturers or in supervisors. I really found that people choose to agree, or they may choose to agree to disagree, but still we are all right. But in our place, you cannot question the authority. What you read in the books or what you are told by your supervisors is final. You have no way of questioning. But here, people are critical, they question, they give suggestions, and this is the freedom I have enjoyed. It really impressed me. Yeah, when I return back to Tanzania, I will be working in another district. I will be moving from my own district to another district, which is in Ruru. It is an island in Lake Victoria. So people there are fishermen, and normally these people dislike education. So my first task is to make that they should understand this. The education is important, the importance of education. As I have seen here, most of the students, mostly women, are really empowered. The equity is really visible. So I will be working with different stakeholders to make sure the girl children is empowered in order to get education to the fullest. Because educating a girl is educating the nation. So my interest will be on educating girls' education, providing education for girls.
I imagine the experiences in Tanzania feeding into my work in a very indirect way of just understanding how different cultures view the world and different cultures take into consideration what education means to them and how that affects society as a whole. One of the most positive things that I noticed about Tanzanian culture was how they valued family and community in a way that we don't necessarily do here. Sunday, no matter what religion they would practice, was always family day. The streets were completely empty. Nobody was in public parts. It was a day to visit family and just relax and be with the people that you care about. I don't notice that as much in Canadian society, and it was something that I really wanted to take back with me, just going back to the roots of home and what's important to people.
It would be a great opportunity if some of the people that I have met here, my teachers, my professors, and my fellow students could have an opportunity similar to mine to come to Tanzania and work in a different context. I think one of the things that they would benefit from is like finding out the similarities, because that sort of helps you to appreciate or see what are the things that are common throughout, but also to see some of the contextual differences and how those affect teaching. For example, the size of classes, the difficulty students have. So I think that would be an important thing, because I think maybe here also in Canada there are differences, but they don't come out so much in the discussions, although some people have mentioned that. So maybe that would help, because when you come here, you go to different contexts, you realize things about your own that you never knew about. So maybe that could be some work. And it would be great to work together and find out what are the things that are common and how we can build on them.